So we have come to chapter 10, that is on page 9. Chapter 10, Adorning Pure Lands. 庄严净土分第10. I'm reading from the text. The Buddha said to Subhuti, "What do you think? Did the Tathagata obtain anything from the Dharma when in the past he was with Dipankara Buddha?" Second paragraph. "No, well-honored one. When the Tathagata was with Dipankara, he did not obtain anything from the Dharma." So I finished the first 2 paragraphs and I explained to you the relationship between Dipankara Buddha and Sakyamuni Buddha. Dipankara Buddha was the 29th predecessor Buddha of Sakyamuni Buddha. So the Tathagata Sakyamuni Buddha did not obtain anything from the Dharma. And of course, if there is something to be obtained, then that's not the real Dharma. As in the Heart Sutra, it also says that, therefore in emptiness, there is no form, nor perception, nor conception, nor volition, nor consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or object of mind. No realm of the eyes up to no realm of consciousness. If in the Bodhisattva's mind, something is to be acquired, if there is something acquired, that means he's still attached to the ego. He's still attached as to an acquisition of something. Then he would not have reached Anupatika Dharma Janti, that is in the Chinese language, is Wu Sheng Fa Ren. He wouldn't have achieved at that level if he's still attached to the notion of having something he had obtained. There's nothing to be obtained. Nothing that has been acquired, because he would have let go of all acquisitions. So the third paragraph is, Subhuti, what do you think? Do Bodhisattvas adorn Buddha lands by their moral actions? Now what's the meaning of this? How did the Bodhisattvas adorn, means glorify, how to decorate the Buddha land? Performing moral actions to adorning Buddha land means the practitioners always thinking of doing good deeds so as to realize benevolent results to make the world a better place to live in. The practitioners want a world with no wishes, realms of victims of hells, animals and ghosts. Adorning the land means to make it pure and peaceful. So that paragraph, it says, do Bodhisattvas adorn Buddha lands by their moral actions? So the Buddha asked Subhuti, do the Bodhisattvas do moral actions to glorify the land, to make the land much better to live in? Do they glorify it? Here, Subhuti doubted and thought that since there was no Buddha to become and no nirvana in which to abide, then what then was the use of adorning Buddha lands? By constructing, repairing temples, by building Buddha statues, promoting the Buddha, using all kinds of artifacts to glorify the temples and statues. What's the purpose of this? If there's nothing to be acquired, how come we promote Buddhism? How come there's a temple? How come the philosophy of Buddhism is to practice benevolence deeds? How come all these things? If there's no attachment, nothing to be acquired, how come there is Buddhism? There's the Buddhist teaching. So that would be the Subhuti's question. This is a very practical question. And the next paragraph said, no, well-honored one. Why? Because this is not real adornment. It is merely called the adornment of Buddha lands. An ordinary person would think that as Bodhi do not abide anywhere, and since enlightenment must not be attached to, then why did Bodhisattvas think about performing moral actions to adorn the Buddha lands? Because if there's nothing to attach to, why do they have to do moral actions? And then the following reply comes. Subhuti, this is why all bodhisattvas and mahasattvas should thus develop pure, clean minds and should not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharma. They should develop a mind which does not abide in anything. At this point, we really have to know what's the meaning of the moral actions and what is the meaning also of cosmic existence as to the material elements and mental elements, as to the 6 organs and 6 objects and 6 consciousness, and all that we really have to know about it before we can carry on. This paragraph is a little complicated. Cosmic existence, the whole cosmic existence contains 2 dharmas. One is the material element and the other is the mental element. And in material elements, it further splits into the 5 skandhas. Material elements would include matter, and mental elements would include perception, conception, volition, and consciousness. That we already learned. Wu Yun. Matter, from the perspective of the individual, is the body. From the perspective of the whole world, is all matters, molecules, and protons, and electrons, all that. But if we just consider in the narrower perspective, the individual, the ego, the I, is the matter, together with, which is the body, together with the perception, conception, volition, and consciousness, which is the mind. That's the mind. So it's the matter and the mind. Why do we have to study the body and the mind, or the matter and the mind? Because that's where the individual interact with the world. If the individual interact with the world just from the perspective of the matter, the body, the 6 organs, the eyes, the ears, the nose, taste is the tongue, and the touch. The body, the tongue, the nose, the ear, and the eye. And then the mind. Of course, the mind dominates and leads all these 5 senses. Thus, we call this as 6 organs. The 6 organs interact to the 6 objects. The eyes interact to all forms. The ears interact to all sound. The nose interact to all smell. Tongue to taste. Body to tactile objects, the touch. And the mind interact to all dharmas, all mental objects. And we call it the 6 objects. So the 6 organs, the sense organs we have, interact with the 6 objects outside. And when the 6 organs interact with the 6 objects outside, what is being created? Say if the eye see the television, see the television, what is created? The eye consciousness is created. When that's created, we have the perception, the volition, and the conception, and the consciousness. So the sense object itself cannot create. You have to, there must be an environment, there must be an object, and there must be a subject, and an object, and the one that's being created, that which is the consciousness. So the eyes interact to form, creating the visual consciousness. The ears interact to sound, creates auditory, hearing consciousness. The nose interact to smell, create the odor consciousness. And tongue interact to taste, the taste consciousness. Body interact to touch, touch consciousness. Mind interacts to all thoughts, anything that created out in the mentality. That would be the 6th mind, which is the mano, vijnana, the mano consciousness. And all these, of course, will be interacting with the inside manas consciousness. We call it the manas vijnana, which is the 7th consciousness. That is the egoistic consciousness. That one is always concentrate. That's the ego prison, the consciousness. It goes back to the ego. And the ego would go to the alaya consciousness. The ego and the alaya consciousness is always hand in hand. So all this is created to form our perceptions, to form all our mental afflictions. They are formed accordingly because of this eight consciousness. You have any problem with that? Because it's a little difficult to understand if you come for the first time. Therefore, in the text of the sutra, adornments to glorify the Buddha lands are not real adornments, but are merely so-called. So they're performing all these moral actions, and yet they don't attach to them. So it is clear that when bodhisattvas adorn Buddha lands, they do not seek anything from outside. They seek from within their mind. They purify their mind, and when their minds become pure, the lands are pure. So in essence, yes, they are doing all these moral actions, but on the other hand, they don't attach to them, and their minds get purer and purer. Then the next question is, it's in our mind, how can we develop a pure mind? In order to develop a pure mind, your mind must be free from all this attachment of the 6 organs, sense organs to the objects, and you must purify yourself of the consciousness so created. So that's why we're practicing meditation. Practicing meditation, when we're practicing meditation, when we close our eyes, so we are restricted, all our senses are under our control. So it's easier to purify your mind accordingly. When our 6 sense organs do not attach to the 6 objects, our 6 polluted consciousness will not arise. Then as we practice more and more samatha vipassana, our minds will be purer and purer and attain what we call in the Chinese, in Wu Sheng Fa Ren, the Anupatika Dhamma Zanti, which is of the higher level of meditation, the higher level of samadhi. So at this level, it is equivalent to the Srota-Apana level. Remember, we have the Srota-Apana, Chu Guo, and then the Sakratagamin, and then Anagamin, and the Arahats. So at this level, when the mind becomes pure, that means your conceptually arising mental afflictions have been eliminated. A major portion of that ego has been eliminated. What's left is only the fundamentally innate mental afflictions. We already have mentioned that. So you go level by level to purify your mind. When you get to the first level, the Srota-Apana level, at this level it is equivalent to the first bhumi of the Bodhisattva, Huanxi Di, Chu Di, the land of joy, wiping out all conceptually arising mental afflictions. When the ego has been greatly eliminated. In other words, a major portion of the ego has been eliminated at that point. So you perform all your moral actions, to perform all the 6 parameters. Charity, what else? Morality, diligence, meditation, endurances, and prajna. The 6 prajna parameters. You perform that, but you don't attach to any merits so obtained. So, in this chapter 10, Subhuti, this is why all bodhisattvas and mahasattvas should thus develop pure, clean minds and should not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharma. They should develop a mind which does not abide in anything. So the mind is still very clear, but you don't carry away by the sound, by the smell, by the touch, by the fragrance. I'll give you an example. If I'm talking to a friend and we've been quite friendly, and maybe somehow in the conversation he said something I dislike. Maybe he said something I think that he or she could be hurting my ego, hurting my self-respect. And this comes into my ears. The sound, all this criticism comes to my ears, and my ear interacts with the sound. And then it goes to the mano vijnana, the consciousness. I don't like it. He hurt me. He said, I'm stupid, for example. Then I don't like it. And that's attachment. The consciousness is being created. And that interact with the manas consciousness. He said that before. It hurts my self-respect. And then it triggers my past, because you have the seeds of hating criticism. You have the seeds of this. You don't like being criticized, or you don't like the way he talks, and you don't like certain things. It creates a lot of these mental afflictions. It arises, and because of that, you don't feel happy. You may answer back. You may have a quarrel with your friend, and this is just an example. It comes from criticism from the sound, and you saw something that is not pleasant. Or given an example, you saw something that you are so greedily want, and you don't have any money. You go into a shop and you're shopping for something, and nobody sees you, and you just pick it up, and that object, because of the greediness, is because your eyes interact. It goes back to your mano consciousness and the mana consciousness, and it goes to alaya consciousness, and it creates the greediness instinct in you. And you started the stealing, the lying, the killing. All these things is because of this. All this is because of your attachment in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharma. And sometimes it may not be just action. You could be sitting in here, and your mano consciousness creates a scene. Remember I said you also have a mind, the mind of the manas consciousness, which creates your mind is the sense organ. And the object is what? The object is, it creates for itself an object. Now I'm not interacting to sound. I close my eyes, so my eyes are not interacting. I'm not listening to anything. I'm not eating anything. I'm not touching anything. But my mind can create a scene in my mind if I'm thinking. I'm thinking of this miserable past that I have. I'm unhappy about it. How come I encountered that person that I hate? So you create all this image in you, and you interact to it. That sixth consciousness interact to it. Sometimes you could be at home, not smelling, not tasting, not doing anything. You just simply create that object to interact on. And it is most of your mental afflictions come from there too. All these others, form, sound, smell, taste, touch, they are very crude. They are everywhere. They are crude. They are not subtle. But the one created by my mind, that object is more subtle, and that's more ferocious, and that gets you more into trouble. And sometimes if your mind is not healthy, you create illusions. You create scenes in your mind. And all these mental afflictions is because of this manas consciousness, the ego and the manos. The alaya consciousness does not judge. It just store whatever you have done. It just store. And it also provide all the information. Yeah, that guy is bad. Remember how many years ago he did something to you? All this sits in there. That is the storage, the computer storage. That is alaya consciousness. Provide all the information. It store all the information. This manas consciousness is the I, the identity, the ego. And this mano consciousness, it's the very active one that manipulate all your senses and your organs, sense organs, to interact with the world. So your mind is not pure. It's because of all this interaction. We call it the basic eight consciousness of the doctrine of Yogacara. You study Yogacara, the doctrine of the Yogacara. That is a very important concept in understanding this. So you understand what I'm talking about now? So it says that you should not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharma. They should develop a mind which does not abide in anything. Next paragraph. Subhuti, suppose there is a man with a body as great as the mountain Sumeru. What do you think? Would such a body be great? Subhuti replied, very great, well-honored one. Why? Because the Buddha says it is not the real body, but it's merely called a great body. It's not easy to understand this, but we can tackle this bit by bit. Why did the Buddha ask such a question about a body as great as the mountain Sumeru? When a practitioner has achieved the level of Sotapanna, or its equivalent, the first bhumi of Bodhisattva, the first land of joy, we call it Chudi, then of course he had attained the Anupatika Dhamma Santi. Then he has already eliminated a major portion of the ego. Basically, all the conceptual arising mental afflictions are gone. Self-view, extreme view, attachment to view, evil view, greediness, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and doubts. Most of those are gone. But he still continues to practice the 6 paramitas. More merits will be accumulated by him, glorifying the world by moral actions. Then its Dhammakaya is gradually coming into realization. Remember, when we're talking about the Buddha, we said the 3 bodies. The Dhammakaya body, Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmana Kaya. That is the Dhamma body, the Sambhoga body, and the Nirmana body. The Dhammakaya is, you can't see it, it's invisible. Sambhogakaya, the reward body, can only be seen by Bodhisattvas. Nirmana body is the body that we sentient beings see. As the practitioners continue to practice, then he will feel that his body is getting greater and greater. Now, that experience as many people would have. When you're meditating, you find that your body is greater and greater, as great as the universe. But don't attach to it, because the Dhamma body is not judged by form. The Dhamma body has no form. So it is the true body, that is the Dhammakaya, is formless. It is emptiness, as vast as space. The feeling of vastness is not the true body, but it is so-called for ease of understanding. The Bodhisattvas have a pure mind, and in a pure mind, there is no limit, no form, no size. It is free from attachment to form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and Dhamma. Their minds are empty, and there's nothing to be obtained. So, even when they feel that the body is getting bigger and bigger, the Dhammakaya, the true body, has no form, no size. So it shouldn't be attaching to form. This is all reminder of no attachment to form, sound, smell, taste, touch. It sounds easy, but in our everyday life, we always attach. We're eating food, we're attached to the taste of the food. We're listening, we're judging this person, what is he talking about. And when we're seeing things, greediness could be created, jealousy could be created, anxiety could be created. Many, many mental afflictions are being created. It's all out of the senses. So this is to tell you that do not attach to them. No attachment. It's easy to talk about, but when you practiced it, after you left this hall, you went out, go back again to the world, everything is attachment. If there comes a time when you say, when you get angry, for example, suddenly you know, oh, I'm attaching to what he said. I'm angry because I saw this, I'm attaching to this. Then your mind starts to pull you back. In other words, it's like your monkey is always active going out. You put your monkey on leash, then you know, oh, I shouldn't have done this. My mind shouldn't be going this way. That means in your meditation, when you're meditating, your thought is always running all over the place. You put your mind on a leash like the monkeying mind. You put your monkeying mind on a leash, but you still can't control it. When you meditate, then the monkey goes away. But it's good that you put it on leash, you put it back. For those who don't even know the monkey would go forever. Go out, do all sorts of things for you, mostly bad things, get you into trouble. Your monkeying mind get you into trouble, get me into trouble. Our monkeying minds get all of us into trouble. And why do we meditate? We meditate, we'll learn to put all this, the monkeying mind on a leash. There comes a time when we know that, oh, I got to pull it back. If you don't even know, how did people commit crime? How do people do things that they regret? Their mind is not under control. If everybody's mind is under one's control, this world would be different. There wouldn't be any killing. There wouldn't be any catastrophes. There wouldn't be any, no wars. People will be more compassionate, will be more helpful. They won't hurt each other. It will be more peaceful and cooperative society to live in. It's the mind. So we change the society, we have to change the mind. You want to change your destiny, you don't pray to Buddha, give me $10,000 in the lottery, or give me a job, give me a wife, give me whatever I want. You want to change your bad destiny into a good one, change your mind first. Change the way you act. Change the way you speak. Ask yourself, don't ask the Buddha. So what do we learn from this? How important is learning this concept? If you want to have a good family, you really have to ask yourself, I'm the father. Am I doing it right? My mind, did I put my mind in the family? Or I have a job, I want this job done perfectly. Did I try it? I know because my mind tells me what I have. If on the one hand I'm not performing my job well, on the other hand I'm always seeking for a raise in my remuneration, you're not doing it right. So you always ask yourself. So you must put your mind under control. Once you put your mind under control, things will be in place. Then you start to tame your monkey. And that monkey is always doing bad things, most of the time, and sometimes it's doing good things. So you want to, first of all, put it back, put it under control, and then tame it so that it only does good things. All benevolent deeds. But the good things are also not the purified things. Because good things create good karma, and good karma would just entitle you to go to heaven. And once you enjoy the longevity, prosperity, and all the happiness in heaven, when the term is due, you still have to go back to reincarnation. Even the benevolence have to be eliminated. The bad has to be eliminated. Even the good, even the indifferent, until it is pure with no impurities in it. The good, the bad, even the good, the bad, and the ugly, all they have to go. Not just keeping the good. Of course, the ugly has to go. The bad has to go. Even the good. Even the good is polluting your mind. Because the good will entice you only to go to heaven. Going to heaven is not the ultimate objective. But how many people can go to heaven? According to what the Buddha said, you have to perform the 10 virtuous deeds all the time to qualify to go to heaven. Abstaining from killing. Have you abstained yourself from killing? Are you a vegetarian? Or you always you eat animal meat, you're supporting killing. They kill for you every day in the slaughterhouses. After they kill them, they put them in supermarkets and you go and buy them. You're supporting killing. Some people, whenever I talk about these things, some people look at me and smile. I said, wow, that's karma, don't smile. You eat their meat and they will eat your meat later when you reincarnate. No one can practice compassion without relinquishing the bad habit of eating meat, relinquishing, giving up the habit of killing animals for food. You call yourself, I'm very kind, but I go fishing and hunting and pork chops and steaks, and you call that kindness. Fur. So you really have to analyze your own actions, your body. Chapter 11, I'm reading from it now. Subhuti, if there were as many rivers as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, would the total grains of sand in all these rivers be great, very great? So along the river Ganges, the bank of the river Ganges, there's a lot of sand. And the Buddha always used the sand of the Ganges to quantify things, to say, this is how much. Can you count this, all the sand, the grains of sand in the Ganges? Next paragraph. Subhuti reply, very great, well-honored one, these rivers would be innumerable. How much more so would the sand grains be? Of course, it's innumerable. The grains of sand will be innumerable. Third paragraph. Subhuti, I now tell you truly, if a virtuous man or woman fill a number of the great chiliocosm, the universe, as great as the number of sand grains in all these rivers, but the 7 treasures, and gave them all away in alms, would his or her merit be great? In other words, if someone filled up the universe with treasures as great as the number of sand grains in all these rivers, in other words, the sand grains, innumerable, if these are all treasures, and they filled up all these treasures like in the whole universe and offer them to the Buddha, would there be a lot of, would it be great? Would the merits be great? Or when you donate, when you make contributions to help others, and the contribution is as great as the sand and the Ganges, it's like innumerable. You can't count. As much as sands of the Ganges River, if you give out that kind of alms, always giving out, you're giving out billions of dollars. How many? As many as the sands on the Ganges. Uncountable. You can't use a number. Would the merits be great if you continually helping and donating the amount as much as the sands of the Ganges? Would there be a lot of merits? And Subhuti replied, very great, a lot of merits, of course. Say if you have $1 million, you donate it all out, there's a lot of money. But if you donate life after life, all this money, as much as the sands of the Ganges, would it be great? And then the Buddha told Subhuti, if a virtuous man or woman receives and holds in mind even a 4-line stanza of this sutra and expounds it to others, his or her merit will surpass that of the almsgiver. So in other words, in this Diamond Sutra, if you know a 4-line poem, only a 4-line sentence, 4 sentences or stanzas of this sutra, and explain it to others, your merit so obtained will be even greater than all this quantifiable, if you can quantify this, will be greater than even that, even giving out as much as sands that much of the Ganges River to help others. If you understand the 4-line stanzas in here and explain it to others, people understand, the merits will be as greater than even that. Why? Say if I give out, for example, I give out $1,000 billion to help the poor. I construct millions of hospitals, millions of orphanages. Would the merits be great? But the merits would not be as great as you explain the 4-line stanzas of this sutra to others. You know why? For example, if you have a 4-line stanzas, of course, I'll tell you later which are the 4-line stanzas, the 4-line poems, quite a few in here. If you start to explain to others, if others listened and understand, and he abstained from doing bad deeds, and he started to practice, life after life, he'll become the Buddha. When he becomes the Buddha, he will save billions of people, as many as sands of the Ganges. They will be saved. The amount you give is quantifiable. You gave 1 billion, 2 billion, 1 billion hospitals and 1 billion orphanages. That is countable. But one person become a Buddha, and he helped billions, uncountable number of people to be away from reincarnation, away from samsara and life and death. The merits so obtained would be much greater than treasures as much as sands of the Ganges River. So this is what it means. And this sutra contains a lot of those 4-line stanzas. And of course, when you study this Diamond Sutra, you really have to think about it. It's not easy just to guess the meaning from the superficial sentences, in the sutra. So now Subhuti cut off all his doubts. First, the 6 sense attachment should be relinquished. No more attachment of the 6 senses. Then the objects of the body and land, the individuals and the environments are all wiped out and vanished. No more attachments. And when the conception of mind and external world is all wiped out, the absolute prajna is reached in order to reveal the non-abiding Dharmakaya. So it is often said that when not a single thought arises, prajna arises. So all things are eliminated, nothing to be obtained. No eye, no ear, no taste, no touch, no realms of Dharma and all that. Nothing, emptiness, nothing. When nothing arises, what's left? When nothing arises, what's left? Prajna left. When all the dirts are all wiped out, the reflections left. All these mirrors with all this dirt, people are worrying, emptiness. If everything is wiped out, void, nothing, then what have you got? It's like a mirror. It's filled with dust and dirt. Every time when you eliminate all the dust and dirt, you practice, you eliminate all your dust and dirt, your mental afflictions, emptiness, you empty them out. Then what's left? The reflection would show. Reflection left. The original nature is left. As a result, the truth does not require words to express it. He who believes in this teaching will reap merits which are immeasurable, cannot be quantified. So in the Chinese language, it's 一念不生，般若生。一念不生, no one single thought arises. So people always worry, no thought. When I got no thought, what's next? When you got no thought, you don't have to look for what's next. When there's no thought, the reflections left. Then you know what to do. If you still have to ask what to do, what you've got is no thought. You're in a sleeping stagnation, which you think there's no thought. I got no thought. Actually, it's no thought. Actually, you're stagnant in somewhere. You could be sleeping. You could be sleeping. This no thought is very clear. This no thought would give the wisdom that you know. You don't have to be told. You don't have to ask. You don't have to seek. It's there. You know it. It's difficult to explain. Because when nothing arises, prajna left. When all the dirts of the mirror are gone, what's left? The reflection is left. Does the mirror lose its reflection with the dirt cover on it? If the mirror, originally the mirror has all this dirt, even if you don't eliminate the dirt, the reflection is still there though. It's just being covered. It does not mean that its nature is not there. It's just not revealed. 菩提本没树，明镜亦非台嘛。The mirror originally has no dirt. Whether you eliminate it or not, it's always there. Originally, there's no dirt on it. When you realize that the self-nature itself is clean of dirt, then you don't have to eliminate it. That seems illogical. That means when you know that, oh, I originally have this self-nature, that's the time that you know that you have been doing the right thing. You have been eliminating this dirt. But after you eliminating this dirt, you don't attach to the elimination. And you don't think that, oh, I have acquired the reflection of the mirror. No, nothing to be obtained. The reflection is there. You didn't acquire anything. But you keep on saying, I'm the Buddha now. So, I cover 2 chapters, and I only talk about it briefly, in outlines only. Details, you really have to think about it. Why would Buddha talk about a great body? Why would Buddha talk about adornment? It's merely called adornment. They're not actually adornment. Because if it is a pure land, it does not need adornment. The mirror has been covered with dirt. It's pure. If you're away from the dirt, if you don't think the dirt is there, of course there's still dirt in there, but if you don't attach to that notion, you know that your original nature it's clean, it's empty. You're already on your way. It's just that we didn't know about it. When you know about it, you're working at that objective. It's difficult to say though. And I don't know if I have said it well enough today. It's difficult expressed. It's just like if I'm drinking a cup of water, how cold, how warm, I can only describe it to you. You really have to taste it yourself to find out. Even if I put a temperature, a measurement gauge in there, and I tell you it's 65 degrees, what does it mean to you? You really have to taste it. I only give you a figure, 36.1, 96.1, it does not mean anything. You really have to taste it yourself to find out. To taste that, you have to practice it. Can you free your mind from the soils of all these attachments? It's up to you. That paragraph, remember, this is absolutely important. Suputi, this is why all bodhisattvas and manasattvas should thus develop pure, clean minds and should not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharma. They should develop a mind which does not abide in anything. Do not abide in anything. Do not attach to anything. But we've been attaching to it every day, every minute, every second. I attach to every second. This morning I was eating something. Oh, this is salty. And oh, how come it is salty? And oh, some people put in some salt, it does not matter. But if there's an attachment, how come she put in so much salt? I don't like it. I told her the other day, and how come she did it? Oh, it's not right. And you keep on in your mind doing it and doing all these things. All these mental afflictions affecting you. And you're not a practitioner. You're not a monk. You're not a good monk. You're not practicing this. This is just an example. This is crude example. There's always some very subtle, some attachment that you don't even know you have attached to. And the Buddha wants us to know the minute, very subtle attachment. We only know the crude ones about sound, taste, smell. How about the mental ones? The objects you create in your mind inside. You also create it when you are sleeping. Your mind is non-stopping. Even when you are sleeping, you create all these images and dreams to attach to. You dream of becoming a millionaire. And then you smile, and you smile in your dream. You create your own object, your greediness. And then say, oh, I married this beautiful girl. And then I have this and I have that. And then you create the images now also, oh, there's jealousy. Oh, there's a third person. I got a divorce. Oh, terrible. And all this dream go on and go on. And you think, in your dream, you think everything is real. Until you wake up, it's not real. We are doing that right in our life show. You think everything is real? It's just like in a dream. In a dream, we think every object, every thought in our dream, it's real. It's just like in daily life. We think everything is real. Nothing is real. Why? First of all, it is impermanent. All this is impermanent. No one will stay forever. If you are real, you are permanent. Secondly, all of these things is based on causality. When all these conditions and causes put together, you are here. When these conditions and causes are not put together, you are not here. None of us will stay. In other words, everything is changing. How can you say that's real if everything is changing? What's the definition of being real? It never changes. It never changes. It's permanent. It does not depend on causes. It is eternity. But none of these applies. And you think your dream is unreal? Our life is unreal. But we attach to them. We argue, we fight. Some people even kill in order to maintain the integrity of the unreal dream, the unreal life dream. International wars, family disputes, criminal offenses, homicides, suicides, all these things, we live in a dream. A dream we think that is so real. A lady commits suicide because the boyfriend went up with another girl. And divorces and all that. If you backtrack it and think about it, why does this thing happen? The Buddha said no attachment. Since this is unreal, this is fictitious, why do I have to attach to it? You're attached to your relationship, money, wealth, reputation. You're attached to your body. We're attached to our body. We want to maintain this eternally, but we cannot. But that day, death seems to so far off. And we don't care about it until one day the time comes. When the time comes, it's too late. We didn't practice anything. We go into another loop of reincarnation, another cycle of reincarnation. And you're not called Brian anymore. You're Jack. You're not policeman anymore. You could be someone else. Hopefully better than this life. No guarantee though. Depends on what you have done now or in the past. Not many people have an opportunity of coming back to the human's realm again. Not many people. Especially people who committed all these unvirtuous deeds. They always reincarnate into the three vicious realms. The animal realm, the ghost realm, and the hell realms. That's enough for today. Thank you.